Join the Bhakti podcast with deep insights into all matters spiritual. Like and subscribe to keep up to date with your inner self.
Translation. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and the fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme abode. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Some commentators on the Bhagavad Gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord. But here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planetary systems where various demigods are situated. Just as worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or a worshipper of the demigod of the moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular god's planet. It is not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is denied herein. For it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to the different planets in the material world, but the devotees of the Supreme Lord go directly to the Supreme Planet of the Personality of Godhead. Here a point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they don't know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply food. This isn't very sanguine. Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. And in their ignorance they believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are demigods part of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities also are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that the Brahmanas are the head of the Supreme Lord, the Kshatriyas are the arms, the Vaishyas are the waist, and the Shudras are the legs, and all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. Thus, it is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The result achieved by the demigods' benedictions are perishable because within this material world, the planets, the demigods and their worshippers are all perishable. Therefore,
I found this on the web for spell achieved by a demigod benediction a parachute because this material world of planets.
The Siri had been set off. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity. Because a pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness, in devotional service of the Supreme Lord, achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge. His achievement and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited, His favor is unlimited, His mercy is unlimited. Therefore the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon His pure devotees is unlimited. Amaginati Mirandasya, Gananjana Shalakaya, Jakshurun Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadadi Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadham Sahagana Ragunatanvidam Tam Sachivam Sadvaidam Savatudam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishyakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagadavate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Dabda Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranavami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Translation again. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Hare Krishna. There are quite a number of verses we have discussed regarding worshipping the demigods. And as Srila Prabhupada points out, it is not true that it doesn't matter which deity one worships, one will reach the supreme ultimately. This is refuted here in this Bhagavad Gita verse, and Lord Krishna is clearly saying those who worship the demigods will go to the planets of the demigods. Of course, there are many that want to go to the planets of the demigods. They have no knowledge and no idea of what is beyond the planets of the demigods. Higher planetary systems. We are in the middle planetary systems, and there's a lower planetary systems of Patala, Talatala, Mahatala, and so on. These are the hellish planets, and the planets where Yamaraj resides. And we, in the middle planetary system, Mrityu-loka, the planet of birth and death. Birth and death is very prominent in this planet. Birth and death is, of course, also there in the higher planetary systems, but the lifespan is just incredibly long. Like Lord Brahma, the highest planet in the universe, billions of years. And the Svarga Loka, the planets of Lord Indra and other demigods, less years, because they are lower. So the time is relative. Time is relative. People with a poor fund of knowledge say, first of all, they don't even recognize there is a supreme personality. They think all the gods are equal, and they can choose which god to worship. This is unfortunately a lack of knowledge, because as explained here in Bhagavad Gita, the destination is not at all the same. And as Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, the benedictions of the demigods are very temporary, because the devas can only give material benedictions. So fulfilling the desires of the living entity. The idea in the Vedic system is one wants his or her material desires to be fulfilled. Of course, now in our atheistic society, modern, ignorant persons, they don't care for the demigods, neither do they care for the Supreme Personality. All what they care is money, money, money. Not knowing and being aware of this is all a very fragile system, and the economic system may crumble at any moment in time. And it is very realistic to think that way, particularly in our time at the moment, because there's too much debt. All governments are indebted. The US government has trillions of debts, and other governments have also immense debts. So how to get out of those debts? Generally, what has been done previously, when the debts are getting too high, unfortunately, make a war. Because then there is war, and then everything is leveled again. Nobody cares about the debts, everything is destroyed, and we start at square one. Unfortunately, this happened before World War I and before World War II, and now it is happening again. So people are afraid that World War III is coming soon, as early as 26 and as latest as 1930. So some people are convinced World War III is upon us. And it may be a nuclear conflict on top of it. So the fate of the world doesn't look very good. Of course, as devotees, we have full faith in Krishna. He will protect us. And even if we are to lose our bodies, then we carry on, as Krishna has explained in Bhagavad Gita. Someone who has practiced Krishna consciousness for a short time, and then either his life is cut short, he has to leave his body due to external circumstances, illness, war, crime, whichever, accidents, or he is deviating and becomes attracted again by the material Maya. In either case, if someone has practiced some devotional service, he will take another birth, but a good birth, a birth in a good family, a birth in a righteous, aristocratic, rich family. So that's a good chance. And in that lifetime, he has a good chance of reviving his Krishna consciousness again. And that's also explained. Said, if we have practiced some Krishna consciousness in previous lives or in the previous lifetime, then automatically we will be attracted again to those yogic principles. Like a piece of iron is attracted by a magnet. We don't know why, but somehow or other we feel attracted to the devotional service of the Lord. And if we in this lifetime we find and we have found we are attracted to the devotional service of the Lord, then the conclusion is we must have practiced some Krishna consciousness in the previous lifetime. but we haven't finished the course. It has ended before we reach the perfectional stage. On Saturday we discussed, a devotee was asking Srila Prabhupada, if a devotee is not perfect, he has to leave his body, but he has done a lot of devotional service, will he go back to Krishna? Srila Prabhupada says emphatically, no. Someone who is not perfect in his Krishna consciousness has to come back. But his coming back is very different from the coming back of the ordinary materialistic fruitive workers. Because whoever has engaged in some devotional service of the Lord, when he comes back, he first of all gets a human form of life and gets good facilities to again practice Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. The fruitive workers, the materialistic mongers, the rascals, the dushkritinas, they have no guarantee that they will achieve again a human form of life in the next life. They may very well, particularly if they're engulfed with a mode of passion and ignorance. Then they're falling down again to the animal species, and then it takes a long time to rise again up to the human form of life and come either through the monkey in the mode of ignorance, through the lion or tiger in the mode of passion, and through the cow in the mode of goodness. These are the gateways to again receive a human form of life, from crossing from animal life to human consciousness and to a human body. The body is awarded according to consciousness. It is not true that consciousness develops according to the body. The opposite. When our consciousness is highly developed, then we receive a particular type of body. So the devotee who has practiced some devotional service, his human form of life in the next lifetime is guaranteed. So this is not a small thing, this is a big accomplishment. At least a human form of life. Who wants to fall down into the animal species? That's not a very pleasant experience, full of ignorance. So, how to reach the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness? First of all, we have to identify what is this perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. Well, as explained in Shastra and as Srila Prabhupada explains in many places, and specifically in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Adi Lila, the confidential reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, Adi Lila. There, the whole chapter basically, with a few introductory verses, and then Srila Prabhupada comes to point out that the actual mature and ripe stage of Krishna consciousness is spontaneous loving devotional service to the Lord. Or in other words, Raga Bhakti or Raga Nuga Bhakti. Same thing. Spontaneous devotion. So we'll have to come to that spontaneous devotional service of the Lord. If we are on the level of regulative principles and have not developed yet that spontaneous, that Raga Bhakti, then that will not help us very much. We have to advance further from this regulative devotional service. There's so much fear. There's no question of love. We practice devotional service out of fear something bad might happen to us. And that is also the fear of the people in general when they're worshipping the demigods in their family, in their homes, in the home altar. They have so many different devas and Mataji and this and that on the altar. They're afraid to stop that worship because something bad might happen to them if they're neglecting to worship the demigods. But they're already neglecting, because there's 33 million demigods. So nobody is worshipping 33 million demigods. So already neglecting. Many millions are neglecting. They don't know that. They're worshipping the demigods because their parents have worshipped the demigods, and their parents, and their parents, and their... It's a family tradition. But they don't have the knowledge. They may think, I know Bhagavad Gita, but they don't know Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise they would know. You worship the demigods, you go into the planets of the demigods. Worship Krishna, you go to Krishna Loka. There are many who want to go to the planets of the demigods and enjoy life. The enjoyment in the planets of the demigods is many, many, many times more than the greatest enjoyment on this earthly planet. We cannot even imagine the enjoyment on the planets of the demigods. So, people want to go, naturally. But they're not very intelligent, because they don't know. They cannot stay there. It's not a solution. Anyone who is sincerely want to make a solution to repeated birth and death, he will not settle for 100,000 years, a lifetime of 100,000 years in the planets of the demigods. He will not settle for that, because if someone is a bit more intelligent, then he understands. Pramanda Pramita Kone Bhagavan Achieve, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai, Bhakti Lata Beach. We have been circling around this universe, sometimes to higher planetary systems, and then we take birth in the lower planetary systems, and in the middle planetary systems, and so we're circling around in the universe, sometimes up, sometimes down. But we keep circling, and while circling around, we'll keep dying and being born. We keep changing bodies again and again and again, without any hope of getting out of that samsara dava nadalita loka, the wheel of samsara. No chance of getting out. Those more advanced souls, they are Hare Krishna return, Prabhu. Happy New Year to you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So souls who are a little bit more advanced. We're discussing the verse where Lord Krishna is saying, those who worship the demigods will go to the planets of the demigods. Those who worship me will come to me. Those who are less intelligent. When Krishna says this, the worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent. So they are satisfied with the fulfillment of the material desires. It will take a long, long time until they're frustrated of taking birth again and changing their bodies again and again and again, sometimes up in the universe, sometimes down. We just quoted that verse, Brahmanda Brahmita Gona Bhagavan Chief. Then, what is the way out? How can we get out of that? Well, ideally, if at the point of great suffering, at the point of being very low, devastated, distressed, in such a difficult situation, we even once may call out, "Oh God, please help me." Because we don't see any other solutions. Are we calling out for God? We're calling out for Krishna. This is a qualification. And then by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we both, because Krishna alone is not sufficient. We need Guru. Krishna says, "You want to come to me? Go to my pure devotee." Guru ideally means pure devotee. So by the mercy of both Guru and Krishna, we are receiving the Bhakti Lata bija, the seed, the bija of Bhakti is planted in our heart. All devotees who are practicing devotional service, at one point they received that Bhakti Lata bija. At one point they met them Darshika Guru. So Guru, there's so many gurus, even parents are our guru. There are many Shiksha gurus, even nature can be guru. Anything what reminds us of Krishna is guru. So by that calling out for Krishna in our desperation, then Krishna sends a devotee. He may even send his pure devotee. Krishna has no difficulty of making that contact between the desperate living entity who's calling out, "Please God help me," in his greatest of distress. So Krishna has no difficulty of arranging a meeting between that desperate soul and the devotee or a pure devotee, and then that seed of bhakti is planted into the heart of that jiva soul. That seed may not fructify immediately. It may be only much later, when that jiva soul discovers, with some again contact with sadhus and some beneficial instructions, that seed is watered. And the proper watering process of that seed of devotion is, of course, the chanting of Hare Krishna. So that chanting process is like watering a creeper. And there's some nice description in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ritual Prabhu, I'm sure you know all of these verses. I am the gardener, Lord Chaitanya says. I have so many fruits to distribute, but I cannot distribute them all. I'm only alone. Some will get that fruit and some won't get that fruit. So I need helpers. The fruit is, of course, love of Godhead. And Lord Chaitanya is more than qualified. He is the Supreme Lord himself to distribute that fruit of love of Godhead. He wants to distribute that fruit. We have just mentioned before you came, Return, Adi Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the confidential reasons for the appearance of the Lord. The external reason, of course, spreading the name of the Lord, the Sankirtan movement, but the confidential reasons. The Lord wants to give the spontaneous, loving devotional service to those who qualify for it. And we have to qualify for it. What's that qualification? We know. Lobha, spiritual greed, which is not that easy to achieve. Generally, we have greed for this material energy. We are greedy for economic development. We are greedy for sense gratification, for tasting, for smelling, for touching, for seeing, for hearing, and material sounds, devoid of Krishna. That's our taste. But if someone has progressed and matured in his devotional service after many, many years practice, or through good association, or through a Kripa Siddha. There also exists a Kripa Siddha. There are the Nitya Siddhas, eternally liberated souls, and there are the Sadhana Siddhas, those who elevate themselves through the regulative process of devotional service. We are all falling into that category of Sadhana Siddhas. And we can be elevated by the mercy of Guru and the Vaishnavas and by our own endeavor and focused endeavor. We can also become Siddha, perfect, in our devotional service. We just mentioned the conversation we talked about on Saturday, where a devotee is asking Srila Prabhupada, what about that devotee who practiced devotional service, but then untimely he leaves his body? Will he go to Krishna? And for some, surprisingly, Srila Prabhupada says no. If he is not perfect in Krishna consciousness, he will not return to Krishna. He will have to take another birth. But a human birth is guaranteed. Not for everyone. For the non-devotees, a human birth is not at all guaranteed. Their birth can very well be an animal birth, particularly if they're in the mode of ignorance or passion. So that is a benediction. There is no loss in practicing Krishna consciousness because a human birth is guaranteed. And then we develop our Krishna consciousness further. And this beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, someone practiced Krishna consciousness for a short time, he will get a birth in an aristocratic, rich family with all facilities. The struggle for existence doesn't touch him very much. So a good chance for developing his Krishna consciousness further. And the one who has practiced for a long time, he will take birth in a family of transcendentalists, of devotees. Such a birth is indeed very rare. And then with such a birth, being born in a family of transcendentalists, of devotees, then that will be his last birth, because he will be trained from small childhood on to be Krishna conscious. As Prahlad Maharaj has explained to his classmates when he asks them to please chant Hare Krishna. They said, why shall we chant Hare Krishna? We're just little boys, we want to play. And Prahlad explained that no, this Krishna consciousness needs to be taken up from small childhood on to be successful. Of course, if we did not have that chance from small childhood on, better late than never. But we may have to take another birth. So then the devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, what if that devotee who leaves his body untimely and he has not reached the perfection stage of Krishna consciousness, which means the liberated stage. Brahma Buddha Prasanatmana Shojati Nakangshati. At least that liberated stage. And from there, of course, then devotees practicing pure devotional service to the Lord. Impersonalists, that takes that as a last stage and they want to merge into the Brahman effulgence. That's a different path. But devotees don't stop at the Brahma Buddha stage. They are happy that they're not anymore distracted by the mode of passion and ignorance and goodness also. They're liberated from the modes of nature, and in that consciousness they can constantly offer devotional service of the Lord. They can constantly chant the name of the Lord. Kirtaniya Sadahari. Amani Namanadena. If one is freed from the subtle desire for sex life, which is the desire for pratishta, for distinguish, being a great scholar, being a learned, having so many disciples, and all this subtle sex desires, which is more difficult to overcome than the gross manifestation, of course. But if we become free from this amanina manadena, then it is kirtaniya sadahari, then we can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So the devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, what about if untimely, not having reached the perfection stage, one devotee has to leave his body, but if he chants Hare Krishna, it's a time of death. We all know that. We all heard about that. Whatever one thinks at the time of death, that's one's next destination. Seems easy. Oh, I live my life not too much Krishna conscious. And at the time of death, I just think of Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada answers that question very differently. If he hasn't reached the perfection stage of Krishna consciousness, he is not able to think of Krishna. He can't think of Krishna at the time of death. That's a revelation. We think so easy. Yes, surely I think of Krishna at the time of death and I go back to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada says no. He's not able to think of Krishna. He can't. So then the only solution is we have to reach this perfection stage of Krishna consciousness. And this perfection stage of Krishna consciousness is spontaneous devotional service to the Lord. We shall not stay our entire life on the platform of regulative principles, because there is fear. It's not all love. There is fear involved there. We must come to the spontaneous devotion. We must come to the stage of following in the footsteps of the Vraja Basis, of one Vraja Basi. We have to, very difficult. The first reaction will be, there are so many Vrajavasis, who shall I follow? And also that question has been asked in a different context to Srila Prabhupada. Shastra says we have to follow in the footsteps of Vrajavasi, Vrajavasi. But which Vrajavasi shall we follow? Srila Prabhupada gives a very interesting answer. He said, I am said Vrajavasi. Of course, you have forgotten. Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is a Vrajavasi, that inhabitant of Braj. And not only that inhabitant of Braj, here in this material world. He is the inhabitant of Goloka also. There Srila Prabhupada is also. He's with Krishna and his cowherd friends. So we can follow Srila Prabhupada as Brajabasi. And if we look at Krishna's Sakhas, for instance, there is organizations there. There is Yudheshwara, the group leaders are there, different group leaders, and one can serve under a particular group leader and get trained up how to offer service to Krishna. So Krishna will like it. So unless we come to that stage in our Krishna consciousness, we following in our meditation, externally nothing changes. Sometimes people think, once I come to the platform of spontaneous devotions, then I don't need to follow the regulative principles anymore. True, in a sense, that we are not motivated by the regulative principles anymore. But we don't neglect them, we follow them. But not out of fear of breaking them, but out of love for Krishna. Motivated by love for Krishna, by attachment, by attraction to Krishna, by an increasing amount of this lobha, of this spiritual greed, by our connection with Krishna in whichever rasa or mood or relationship we are, then that is our motivation, more and more and more. That's our constant meditation. We already with one foot in Goloka, so to speak, and one foot here in this material world. Once we come to a stage of bhava or prema even, then we are ready to go to Goloka. Or Vaikuntha if we want. That's also possible. Particularly for those who want to see their worshipable Lord, Hare Krishna Vijay, who want to see the worshipable Lord without reference, then that Vaikuntha is their destination. They don't need to stay in Vaikuntha if their unique spiritual form is not meant for Vaikuntha, then they will stay for some time in Vaikuntha, just as Gopkumar. On his travel he came to Vaikuntha, but he did not stay in Vaikuntha. He was so greedy after the darshan of the Lord that he was disappointed when Lakshmi in the evening she told everyone, now the Lord will take rest, please go to your home, go home everyone, the Lord takes rest. But Gopkumar, he didn't like that. I want to constantly be in the company of my most worshipable Lord. So that he thought that was a shortcoming. In Vaikuntha, yes, it is. So he yearned to see his most worshipable Lord as a cowherd boy. Because in his heart it was cemented, that relationship of being a Sakha. That was meant for him, that he discovered that. So he traveled to Vaikuntha, but he didn't stay. Others want to achieve Vaikuntha and they want to stay. Vaikuntha is a spiritual world. Nothing wrong with Vaikuntha. It's the most wonderful achievement to serve Lakshmi Narayan in Vaikuntha in great opulence and respect. But those who have a desire for greater intimacy, they will go on to Goloka. And Gopkumar did just that. Narada Muni helped him, as always. Narada Muni is also helping us in his different manifestations. He is guiding us, he is inspiring us to go further. So then Gopkumar came via the gateway to Goloka is Ayodhya Dham. So via Ayodhya Dham he stayed there for some time, and then Lord Ram gave him permission to go further. And then he came to Goloka. And then he was satisfied because he had revived his very own special relationship as a cowherd friend of Krishna. And that relationship was there. So, I'm just trying to remember the name of Gopkumar. What was that, Rituan Prabhu? It was not anymore Gopkumar, it was, Sarup. Sarup. His name changed, Sarup. That was his original name. We also have an original name in the spiritual world. We'll have to discover, and by the mercy of Guru and Krishna we will discover what is our unique relationship with Krishna. Today I got a message, someone wrote, the snowflakes coming down in the sky, according to temperature and moisture and all that, each snowflake is unique. There is not one snowflake like the other. On the outside it may appear they're all the same. No, they're not. They have a unique structure and form. So we also have a unique relationship with Krishna. How wonderful is Krishna? He can have a unique relationship with every living entity, with every jiva soul throughout the universe. Simultaneously. How many relationships we can maintain? How many friends we can have? Maybe a dozen. And on Facebook they allow 5,000. It's not possible to have a unique relationship with 5,000 people. Not possible. Impossible. One can have an active relationship with maybe a dozen, maybe 20, maybe 24 to the most. Unique relationship means you know their names, you know their birthdays, you see them regularly, you give gifts and receive gifts and having intimate talks. This is only a small group of people. But Krishna can have a unique relationship with the innumerable. Nobody can count the jiva souls throughout the universe. It's not possible. Each square inch there are thousands and thousands of jiva souls. Each bacterium, each microbe, there's so many. So the universe is populated by innumerable numbers of spirit souls. And Krishna has a unique relationship with all of them. That is Krishna. It's amazing, it's mind-boggling. And he has that relationship simultaneously. Not that we have a relationship with, we're meeting one friend today and another friend tomorrow. No. Krishna has a relationship at the same time, simultaneously with each Jiva soul. So that is a perfection of our Krishna consciousness, to find out our relationship with Krishna. That can be and will be revealed if we progress further to the stage of Bhava and Brahma, then our relationship will be revealed. We have to discover that. And once that is revealed, that's a perfection of our devotional service. Then we are ready to go to Goloka. So, going to the planets of the demigods will not help us. While those who go into Goloka, they will never come back here. There is no more birth and death. Finished. The whole journey is finished, and we will be eternally happy in the spiritual world. Eternally happy in so many varieties of pastimes with Krishna. And if we go to the planets of the demigods, then we have so many varieties of sense enjoyment, but in the end we become tired of it. Because if we have a little bit of memory, we will remember we had engaged in this sense gratification thousands of times before. And it wasn't what was promised. The promise is always the thought. Everybody can make one's own experience. The thought of a particular type of sense gratification, meditating on it, thinking of it, that's the most pleasurable part of sense gratification. Once it comes to actually making contact through a particular sense with a sense object, then it's not as we have contemplated and meditated on it. It just becomes very mundane. That's all. But we forget next time again. Let's say, take an example. We love chocolate. And we think about enjoying a beautiful bar of chocolate. And we're forgetting all about Krishna. We just think of, I want that taste, I want to enjoy the taste of the chocolate bar. And it's very pleasurable to meditate like that. And when we actually buy the chocolate bar, still it's pleasurable. And when we start eating the chocolate bar, then that's nothing. It didn't fulfill its promise. And if we eat a bit more, and then it becomes less and less tasteful. And then we remember, oh, I had such experiences already 1,000 times before. But I was attracted still to that chocolate bar in such a strong way, and it felt like this is really what will make me happy. And now I have eaten that chocolate bar, and it becomes quite mundane. I will never buy a chocolate bar again. And the next day we have forgotten it already. Again the attraction is there. And again it becomes distasteful. And again we promise enough. So if we have been disappointed enough of any particular sense gratification, then we have a chance of, let me turn to Krishna. Let me offer that particular food, perhaps not chocolate bar, but maybe a Simply Wonderful. Let me offer that to Krishna. First, I forgo my immediate sense gratification. I will get the ingredients. It's so easy to go just in a shop and buy a chocolate bar and then this mundane experience happens. If we want to make some nice sweet for Krishna, then we'll have to get ingredients and we have to mix it together. It takes a bit of time and we have to meditate on Krishna while we preparing the preparation. Then we offer it with tulsi and our prayers full of devotion, and then we taste that simply wonderful. And that is simply wonderful, a beautiful experience. Because we know Krishna has touched it. We not only know, we feel, we taste, we experience Krishna has touched it. There's no comparison from that chocolate bar in the shop which has been produced by materialistic-minded people working their karma into that chocolate bar and sent by machines and nuts and bolts and steel and... No. There are worlds in between. So that's just one example. It's with every type of sense gratification exactly like that. So if we are attracted to the sense gratification in the higher planetary system, it's just like that. We become bored after some time. And then we have to come back down again, here. And then the whole journey starts again, and then we go up again, and down again, and up again, and down again. Until by some mercy, Pramanda Brahmidikona Bhagavan Chief Guru Krishna Prasad by Bhakti Lata Beach, we receiving the mercy of a pure devotee. Then everything changes. Our whole direction in life changes. And we are on the progressive march back home to Godhead, to the perfectional stage of spontaneous loving service of Krishna Prema, pure devotional service to the Lord. That is our qualification to enter into the spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada's answer: no, that devotee who hasn't reached that perfectional stage, he cannot remember Krishna at the time of death. He has to come back. And the next lifetime, if he carries on, then there's a good chance he comes to that perfectional stage. So the question could be raised: how do we, where we are now, and how do we come to that perfectional stage? Well, in between there is, we mentioned that many times, there is this lata, this spiritual creed, which will develop. And of course, a very, very important part of that development is association. If we get the association of those who have already one foot in Goloka, those who have that lopa, that spiritual creed, it will rub off on us. That utsaha, that spiritual enthusiasm, will rub off on us. Therefore, Shastra says we should seek association of more advanced devotees. That's important. There are so many types of associations. There are association of devotees who are on an equal platform with us. Then we should make friendship with those devotees. That's one type of association. The association of devotees who are more neophytes than we are. We should give mercy to them and help them in their Krishna consciousness. And there's an association of more advanced and mature devotees. We should serve them, we should hear, associate with them, so to also be pulled at a higher level of our Krishna consciousness. And they will be happy to help us. So all this association is there. And if we're eager to advance our Krishna consciousness, then that association will come from nowhere. It will come into our life. Krishna arranges all this. And not only that, we will come in contact with certain literature. We have never even thought about it. It will just also come to us. And we're getting hints in various different writings of the spontaneous loving service to the Lord. And in this way, we will advance further, and we will, that's a very important symptom, we will develop a taste of hearing about Krishna's pastimes. Not in a sentimental way. There are many people say immediately jumping to Krishna's pastimes. They don't want all this. They're jumping to the 10th canto of Bhagavatam without ever having known the first and second and third canto and so on. So immediately, but they take to the 10th canto in a sentimental way. They take it in a Krishna's pastimes with the gopis and think it's just some modern love story or something like that. So they're cheated. They are cheated of the real diamond of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just reading and having sent out some video about the prayers of Lord Brahma, it is so beautiful. It's from the 10th canto. Also found in Krishna book in the 10th canto with more details and more elaborate. It's not we jumping immediately to the most confidential pastimes with the gopis. No. Lord Brahma's prayers. They're so beautiful. So beautiful. After his bewilderment, when he saw Krishna was there, standing with some food in his hand and a cowhead stick and a buffalo horn and a flute in his belt and a garland of forest flowers and leaves and gunja berry earrings, all beautiful described, like in this song. These are also intimate descriptions, but nothing can go wrong of contemplating those descriptions. Lord Brahma's outpouring of his appreciation for Krishna after understanding, I did a big blunder. I showed my mystic powers, my material mystic powers, my Mahamaya, so to speak, to bewilder these cowherd boys, puts them into a mystic slumber and takes them away. And there, Krishna is still standing there when he comes, looks back. The boys are gone. But there is Krishna still with a morsel of food in his hand, the cowherd sticks, the buffalo horns, the garland. And all the boys are there. All the boys are there. But Lord Brahma, I've just taken the boys away, and the calves and the cows, and they are again here. What's happening? And we have talked about it before, I just repeat. And he thought, while I'm looking at this forest scene, the boys are there, and then I'm looking at the caves where I put them in a mystic slumbers, and Krishna quickly brings them from here to there, and from there to here. So then he looked simultaneously to the caves, where he puts the boys, and to the forest scene. One head, Lord Brahma has 4 heads, he can look simultaneously in 4 directions. So he looked in 2 directions. One head looked at the caves, one head at the forest scene, and he could understand. What a bewilderment! We just have to imagine. At that point, Lord Brahma did not understand that this little boy playing just like a human being is his supreme Lord, Lord Vishnu, who his father, he was born on the lotus flower. He didn't recognize that, but when he understood Krishna's Yoga Maya, superior Maya, internal Ladini Shakti energy Maya, then it dawned to him, oh, what have I done? I tried to cover Krishna with my mundane mystic power. I have disturbed his lila, his pastimes with his friends. And now he is showing who is the real master. I have been thinking I'm the master. So easy to come to that consciousness. I'm the master. We all think in this material world, I'm the master. I'm in full control. I'm in control of everything. Everybody thinks like that. I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. This attitude is not found in the spiritual world, and certainly not in Goloka, and not even in Vaikuntha. Lord Narayan, this is an enjoyer and is a controller, and everybody is dasa, 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 servant. So then Lord Brahma, he felt very small, very, very small and very foolish. Lord Brahma, he is a master of the universe. He is a creator of the entire universe. He is a great, great personality. So Krishna showed his mercy on him. He showed him, I'm not just this little ordinary human cowherd boy. It looks like I'm just like a cowherd boy and playing mundane games and hide and seek and eating the lunch packs the mothers have prepared. So it looked like some very ordinary pastimes. It's just like people sometimes go to Vrindavan and all what they see is just some ordinary happenings. There are cars and lots of noise and toot 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 and rickshaws and people and talking and bustling and business and selling and buying, and that's the external manifestation of Vrindavan. And behind that seemingly mundane Vrindavan, there is a spiritual Vrindavan. Just like Lord Brahma, behind that facade of some cowherd and his friends in the forest playing and herding the cows, but actually that Krishna is my master and the Supreme Personality with all his mystic power. So Lord Brahma felt very, very small, and then he offers his prayers in praise and glorification of Krishna, and he is asking for forgiveness also. And Krishna has been very merciful to him, of showing him. Lord Brahma knew it was the time by calculation when Krishna will appear in this material world. He knew that, but he didn't understand that Krishna came in this wonderful form. When Krishna comes in his majestic Vishnu form, then that's very easy to foreheaded and so on to understand. Here is Lord Vishnu. But when Krishna appears in a human-like form, that's very difficult to comprehend. Difficult, unless we are shown some mercy, like Lord Brahma, to understand who is that seemingly material form of Krishna playing in the forest. So, back to the verse. Going to the planets of the demigods will not help us. Let's not hanker for that. It's not a solution. We have done it many times before. We have been up and down. Up means in Svarga, enjoying there. And down means in the lower planetary system, Patala, Mahatala, Tala, Tala, and so on. And in the middle we have been earthly planetary system. So we have been up and down for a long, long time. We should really have enough, and very determined and focused, trying to progress and fixing the goal of our life of going back to Godhead, going to Goloka. We may achieve it in one lifetime or 2 or 100, it doesn't matter. Just like the Brahmin, I forgot who it was, the name, who has been told by Lord Chaitanya, you will not reach me in 1,000 lifetimes. 1,000 lifetimes he will reach me. Well, he was dancing. Wow, 1,000 lifetimes I will reach the association of the Lord. He was dancing. Because even if we have to take another birth, or 2, or 3, to become perfect in our Krishna consciousness, so we should be joyful. Well, only another lifetime, only 2, 3 lifetimes. Haribol, that's nothing. I've been spending millions of lifetimes and rotting in this material world, and now in 1 or 2 lifetimes I can go back to Godhead. But Srila Prabhupada is so merciful. He said, I have opened the back door for those who follow me. I take them to Krishna through the back door. The back door is a shortcut, as we know. Let's say there is a cinema, football game. The front door, there are queues for 100-meter long queues for many hours. But if someone says, I'll take you to the back door, come. There's nobody else. Only a small group of 5 to the back door. We are in immediately. I had that experience when I told you that story before. When at a very early time, I was in the train station. Where was it? In Delhi. Delhi train station. I had a ticket. I was bold enough to travel all alone on the train. And my train was scheduled, everything was, but there was a huge queue. 100 people. And then I stood in the queue and I thought, I missed the train. There's no chance. The train, there's a queue of 50 people maybe, and the train is in half an hour. Impossible to catch that train. And there came one chap. He was almost dressed officially. He had some kind of uniform or something. Don't remember. He said, come, give me 20 rupees, 50 rupees, I'll take you right to the front. I thought, well, that's a scam. I had no choice, I tried it. I gave him the money and he took me right in front to the counter to get my ticket. And I heard later on this is quite normal practice. So that was a back door. He'd taken me to the back door. Not the official queue. Of course I had to pay a price. We also have to pay a price. We have to have full faith into Srila Prabhupada. Full faith, full surrender to Srila Prabhupada. That we have to do. That's a price we have to pay. And then Srila Prabhupada will take us to the back door. Any questions, any comments? Return.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. No, Prabhuji. Just one question, like, as you mentioned, I was not able to follow that. As you mentioned that if, when we have to have that desire to, to serve Krishna so personally, in a personal relationship. So how do we achieve that? You mentioned that we have to associate with similar-minded devotees, isn't it?
We'll always have to associate with not similar, like-minded devotees.
Like-minded,
Remember that conversation with, between Jamuna and Srila Prabhupada, and she said, we are outside living, we want to move back to the temple. We say we don't have association. And then Srila Prabhupada said, association can be of two types. If two are like-minded, they will make rapid Krishna consciousness of progress. And if 100 are not like-minded, nobody will make progress. So yes, like-minded association is important.
So in this case, that means like those devotees who are also aspiring, or maybe who are in that stage of Bhav Bhakti or Prem Bhakti, like that. Because if, in general, when we associate with devotees, we don't, basically, as because this kind of relationship with Krishna, this is a very intimate thing that remains within the heart of the devotee, and the devotees do not usually, express that or manifest that externally. So we don't know which devotee. We can see like some devotees are definitely advanced, but advanced devotees who might not be like-minded, might be like the devotees advanced, a pure devotee, but also in the mood of awe and reverence, and the devotee's goal might be Vaikuntha. Just like, devotees of the Sri Sampradaya, their goal is to go to Vaikuntha.
Yes.
So how do we, recognize such devotees that their mood is also very similar to, who is a Raga Bhakti with a desire to develop Vraja Prem? That's the thing.
We can't. That's a short answer. We can't with our limited vision to see that. But those devotees who are, if we are sincere, we want to develop Raga Bhakti, then those devotees will come from nowhere, they will just come into our life, and then we realize we have achieved a like-minded association, and then that is very, very advantageous for our further development.
So Prabhuji, it's like a cycle. Like, if we have that desire to associate with such devotees, Krishna will send them. And once we get association of such devotees, we will develop more desire to attain that Bhav Bhakti, Prem Bhakti.
Artificially it is not possible. Now let me search for someone. No, Krishna will reveal that in the heart. We cannot, if we search for it in an intellectual way, we might actually go in the wrong direction, because there are many devotees who are intellectually and scripturally very well versed. Well versed doesn't mean advanced necessarily. Intellectually very advanced, that's one thing. But to be advanced in, well, there are some indicators. What's the indicator of a devotee who is mature or who is well advanced? Trinada Pisa Nichana. These are the characteristics. If someone has developed a certain degree of humility and tolerance and amanina manadena as well, not hankering for pratishta, is just giving respect to everyone without expecting any respect in return. So this we can see if we're coming in contact with devotees, if they're just trying to control us and boss us around, and you do this, do that, and you cannot do this, and that's not like-minded association. That's not even advanced association here. But if someone has, and we contacting such devotees, and they have developed a great deal of humility. Means humility is just the opposite of ego. There are many devotees who are just on the ego platform. They're also devotees, but they're on a different stage. But if some of the devotees are actually mature enough and have develops this humility and tolerance, and that means the ego has mostly, if not completely, even disappeared. That association we want. And we can feel that devotees from the heart, they are ruled by the heart. They're not ruled by the intellect and mind and the ego. Both is there, and everything in between is also there. So that's the association, and there we feel that if someone is advanced. Of course, someone can put on a show and is cheating, but we can feel that too. We have to have also a good portion of what shall I say? Don't know the word. We have to be careful, so to speak, also. Not being easily impressed. Impressed because someone is singing beautiful kirtan, impressed because someone distributes so many books, and these are external manifestations. It could be, the advancement could be there, but it could not be there. But if we associate with such devotees, if they just looking down at us, right? We have that experience. Big sannyasis, they don't even talk to us. They're just looking down at us. They're the only one advanced, and everybody is just less. So that kind of feeling is not helping us. But if there are devotees, and there are devotees, and there are sannyasis who are very much directed by the heart, they're not proud of being sannyasis, they're not proud because they're very learned. That pride, we can feel that, because we cannot approach those devotees. A true humble devotee, an advanced devotee, is very approachable. Srila Prabhupada was so approachable to anyone. Very approachable. He was ready to sit down with anyone. So these are the qualities becoming obvious. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
These are just some markers. And we have to also be guided by our heart. Vijay, any questions, comments?
You mentioned going to Vaikuntha or Goloka. So if you go to Goloka, for example, then your earthly parents, your brothers and sisters, they may get the chance to go, but if they do go, you can't remember in Goloka, because you can't remember that they're your relatives, because only eternal things exist in spiritual planets. So your mother and father, your brothers and sisters, it's a temporary relationship. because the only relationship you have in Goloka Vrindavan is with Krishna.
Not with Krishna. Let's say in the
Yeah.
Sakya Ras and with the cowherd boys, everybody is brothers and sisters. Everybody. And it's a misunderstanding that if we going back home to Godhead, then all our relatives will also go back. That Shastra is not saying that. Shastra is saying they will be liberated. Right? It's a different thing. Liberated means Brahma Buddha platform. Liberated from the three modes of material nature. And then some may want to go to Vaikuntha, some may want to merge into the Brahmajyoti. So liberated is one thing, but going to Goloka, that's another thing. The liberated platform does not grant us to go to Goloka. In order to go to Goloka, we need to follow in the footsteps of Rajabhasi. That is qualifying us to go to Goloka. We need to develop this Raga Bhakti. That's the only qualification to go to Goloka. How else? How else? If we not have developed this Raga Bhakti, how we would be in Goloka? We would be an eyesore. We would be disturbing Krishna's pastimes. Because everybody in Goloka has this spontaneous love for Krishna. Every single one. Of the boys, of the elderly gopis, of the gopis in Madhurya, everyone has this spontaneous, loving devotional service with the Lord. And if we don't have that, then we would be a disturbance in Goloka. But the relatives will become liberated. It's a different story. Of course, great. Liberate is a big achievement. To be liberated from the modes of material nature, which are pulling us right, left, and center all the time. The modes are pulling us. Liberated means Maya has no jurisdiction upon us anymore. Maya means the modes. Finished the modes. So liberated is not a small thing. It's a big accomplishment, but it goes further. Liberation is not the ultimate goal. The impersonalists, they think liberation is the ultimate goal. No, it's not. Okay, more? Vijay, you wanted to say something more?
So in the if people in the material world, they're Nitya Baddha state, they've forgotten Krishna and they're involved in so many other relationships because of their bodies. So so your relations in Goloka is different. You would all the inhabitants you consider as your god brothers or brothers and sisters, and that's as far as it goes. You don't have any kind of more distinct relationships other than just they're your consider them as brothers and sisters or just your god.
No, they're very distinct relationships.
Very distinct.
Distinct relationships. There are groups. Let's say about in the Sakas, the gopis, the same thing. There are groups, and there are group leaders, and the different group leaders have a different mood as well. So if you read and hear about, let's say, Saka pastimes or gopi pastimes, they're all very individual characters. They have unique services, unique relationships. It's not just, oh, everybody is... no, that is a bit of an impersonal conception. It's not all the same. Like in this material world, we have different relationships. We have different relationships with our brothers. We have a different relationship with our younger brother. We may have a different relationships with our older brother. We have a different relationships with our fathers and our mother and our friends. So in the spiritual world is also very, very variegated. Yes, in one sense we're all there. but very different relationships also. And our spiritual master, pure devotee spiritual master, Uttama spiritual master, he is also there. And we will recognize, Srila Prabhupada is there. We'll recognize, oh, Vijay, you have come. Jai, Haribol. And he will give you some service. He will train you further in that mood of the spiritual master also. Srila Prabhupada had a particular mood. We all know that. Srila Prabhupada had a particular mood with his devotees. At the beginning he was cooking, he was washing up, he was doing everything. He was doing book distribution. While in India, before coming to the West, he was also doing everything. He was printing his magazine, he was doing the layout, he was writing, he's going to the printer, and then he was distributing his magazine, and that was a little income which maintained him, and he did everything, a one-man band. And only when he came, after years struggling in the US, then some devotees joined. As Srila Prabhupada says, his spiritual master sent him devotees to assist him to fulfilling the mission of his spiritual master. So he had a particular mood. In the spiritual, in Goloka, Srila Prabhupada has also a particular mood. In fact, that same mood we have seen here in the material manifestation, that mood is there. We'll recognize that's our spiritual master, that's Srila Prabhupada in a unique mood. And he engages us in the service in that unique mood also. The cowherd boys, there are different groups. There's the sakas, ordinary sakas, ordinary sakas, and there are the priya sakas, the more dear. Priya means dear. They have different relationship with Krishna, more intimate. And there's the Priyanarma sakas, they have even more intimate relationship with Krishna. They know Krishna's relationship with Radharani and the gopis. So the sakas, the normal sakas, they're not participating in any of those pastimes with the gopis. They don't have much knowledge of that. And a certain group of Priya sakas or Priyanama sakas, they were with Krishna when Krishna stole the garments of the gopis, and so different groups of categories of sakas taking part in particular pastimes of Krishna also. So that's all. They're very, very intimate pastimes, and they're not so intimate pastimes, and there's a great deal of varieties there. Haribol. Anything else?
No, I was reading about the Ashta gopis, the principal gopis,
Yes.
and they're in groups, so you could I don't know.
They're groups also. Yes.
They're in groups. So if you're like with Kampa Lata, for example,
Yes.
and she's in charge of all the gopis who engage in specific activity. I think it's like trees or plants. They maintain that. So the different groups, you can belong to headed by principal gopi. You could be a gopi under the charge of a principal gopi, carrying out your
charge. That's the term.
Yeah.
Therefore, it is said, before going to Goloka, we take one birth more in this material world, somewhere in the universe where Krishna enacts his Vrindavan pastimes, earthly Vrindavan pastimes, in some universe, not necessarily in this universe. And there we get the final training under group leaders in our particular relationship, rasa with Krishna, and we get the final training under Vishaka, under Supal Saka, under Madhu Mangal, whichever. And once we have qualified ourselves, then we go into Goloka. So we have to take birth in the womb of a gopi in this earthly Vrindavan one more time to get the final training. And I think here we stop. We're running already late. Okay, thank you very much for the turn. I wish you a happy new year.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And we all wish you Happy New Year also.
Are you doing some fireworks, Return?
Not today, Prabhuji. Yesterday I was like on call and came home in the morning. So just taking some rest.
Does Padma want to do some fireworks?
Fireworks we did during the Diwali.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yes.
so yeah, he wanted that, and I bought some fireworks from Aldi, and we we did the fireworks in Diwali. So he's happy with that.
Diwali is proper New Year. This New Year is not. That is a Westerners, and they're just getting drunk and have some fireworks and having a party, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm happy all that Christmas, New Year, Maya will be over and everything is back to normal. I can't wait until the 2nd of January is here. Because it's just a disturbance, it's just a nonsense. Artificial, so artificial. Okay. Vijay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Hopefully see you on Saturday. Hare Krishna.
Join the Bhakti podcast with deep insights into all matters spiritual. Like and subscribe to keep up to date with your inner self.